All right, now speaking of lashings, there's another situation here. There was sort of a ceremony where they were gathering and standing in the parade, sort of in a town square, and somebody basically threw, I think, like a brick at, it's one of the soldiers from one of the windows that was watching the other regiment. So there's one regiment standing on the parade field handing out awards or something. Mm-hmm. The other regiment's sitting up in the various rooms around looking down. Mm-hmm. And at some point, this someone hucks a brick down and it hits the colonel. So this guy Liston was the guy that they grab, and they think it's this guy Liston. Back to the book. Liston was sentenced to receive 800 lashes. The whole brigade turned out on the occasion, and I remember that the drummers of the 9th Regiment were the inflictors of the lash. Liston received the whole sentence without a murmur. This is him talking about, as he goes on to talk about how this strict discipline about it and how it kind of fits in with the English mentality. Back to the book. They are a strange set, the English, and so determined and unconquerable that they will have their way if they can. Think about that. You got your soldiers, it's a great quality to have, right? You're determined and unconquerable, but what does that mean? It means you're going to have your way if you can. And if you let them, they're going to get after it, maybe in a way you don't expect. Yeah. Indeed, back to the book, it requires one who has authority in his face as well as at his back to make them respect and obey him. They see too often in the instance of sergeant majors that command does not suit ignorant and coarse-minded men, and that tyranny is too much used even in the brief authority which they have. So again, he's going back to the fact that even though you have to have, he's talking about the dichotomy of leadership, even though you have to have discipline, you can't have tyranny. Back to the book. A soldier, I am convinced, is driven often to insubordination by being worried by these little-minded men for the veriest trifles about which the gentleman never thinks of tormenting him. So the little-minded person that harps on these little trifling things, that's what actually creates insubordination. Whereas the gentleman never thinks of tormenting him with these little things. Like, these little things don't matter. And then he goes on to balance this dichotomy of leadership. Back to the book. The moment the severity of the discipline of our army is relaxed, in my opinion, farewell to its efficiency. But for men to be tormented about trifles, as I have seen it many times, is often very injurious to the whole corps. So this is the perfect talking about the balance of the dichotomy of leadership. If you're too ultra strict, your guys are going to rebel against you. And if you're not strict enough, if you don't impose enough discipline, they're going to not have any control. So you got to balance these two.